everyone, this is Sarah. Welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video is stitch 9 in our year-long crochet along, the Harmony Sample Blanket Crochet Along. Each month we're adding a stitch to our blanket, and today is stitch number 9. Stitch number 9 is the spike stitch. It's really fun and it's really easy, and don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to do it. Now for stitches 1 through 8 and 9, I'll put the blog link down in the notes underneath this video, and also all the videos for stitches 1 through 9 you'll find in the playlist under the Harmony Sample Blanket. Before we get started with our new stitch, I want to remind you that you need to continue using your H hook, which is a 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, and you need to continue using the same weight of yarn, which is worsted weight medium number 4. And I'm doing mine all in solids. You can do in whatever colors that you want. And if you chose to use a thicker yarn and a bigger crochet hook, or maybe thinner yarn and a smaller crochet hook, you need to continue with the same size crochet hook and the same size weight of yarn for your blanket to turn out correctly. So I've got my H hook here. I'm going to be using 2 colors today. I've got this pretty light teal and this lemon yellow that I'm going to be using for our demonstration today. You're also going to need your needle because we're weaving in as we go, so we don't get overwhelmed with a ton of weaving in on our edges. And then you're also going to need a pair of scissors. You should have left your loop where we finished our previous stitches. We're going to put our hook right in there, join our next color, or if you're doing it all in one color, you don't have to do that. And I think it would look neat to do this all in one color, like an off-white or a beige or something, or even lavender. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and then we're going to place a double crochet in each stitch across. There we go. 1 double crochet in each one of the stitches across, and this is going to give us a base for our next couple rows of spike stitches. And there are many ways to do the spike stitch. I'm going to show you just a simple way so that you understand what it is, and then I want you to go out into Google Land or on YouTube or go to Ravelry.com and look at all the different ways that the spike stitch is used. It has a lot of wonderful, wonderful ways of using it. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and move across this row. And remember, we're working on a base of 74 double crochets. I've completed this row of 1 double crochet in each double crochet across, and I'm going to cut my yarn and bring in this pretty lemon yellow yarn. When you're changing colors, make sure you add your yarn in first and then do your chain 3, because our chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and we don't want 1 blue double crochet up there, or whatever color that you're working with. And something that I do at the end of my rows is I just put them together like that, and then I come back and weave them in later. All right, now we have 1 double crochet because our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. We're going to begin in the next stitch, and then we're going to stitch 4 more double crochets. So we'll have 5 double crochets here at the beginning. So our chain 3 counts as 1, and then we did 4 more. we're going to now stitch our spike stitch. And the way we do that, yarn over just like you're doing a regular double crochet. And normally we stitch right here in the top, right? But we're going to go right down here in the bottom where we stitched the previous double crochet of the previous row. So I'll go right in, pull up that loop, gently pull it up so that it's not pulling tightly, and we'll finish our double crochet. And it's called a spike because we came down and it looks a little bit like a spike. All right, so now we're going to go to our next double crochet, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. And now we're going to do the same thing. Here's our double crochet, yarn over, go down around, pull it up, and finish our double crochet. Now the key to getting your spike stitches to lay nicely is you need to pull it up a little bit loosely, but don't let it pucker, but you also don't want it to gape and droop. All right? And so that's kind of something that you're going to have to practice until you get it right. It's more about looking at it and how it feels. All right, so I'm stitching 4 more double crochets, and we're going to stitch another spike stitch. Yarn over, I'm going to go down here, go through, pull up our loop, and see how I just kind of gently pull that up, yarn over, and finish our double crochet. And then we're going to go in the next 4 double crochet stitches. All right, I'm going to do one more just to make sure you understand what we're doing. And isn't that neat? All right, yarn over, go down here at the bottom of where we did the previous row stitch, pull up that loop, give a little bit of a pull, make sure it's laying nicely, and finish our double crochet. Now a spike stitch can be short and it can be long. If you wanted a really long one, you could come all the way down in previous rows down here. And if you wanted to make it a little bit shorter, you could go like to the center of the previous double crochet. And that's why I said I want you to get on the internet and look up different ways of doing the spike stitch, because you can make lots of really beautiful patterns with the spike stitch. Today we're just doing the basic spike stitch, and on the next row we're going to stagger it a little bit so you can see the way that it looks. All right, so we're going to just continue to repeat this across 4 double crochets and then a spike stitch, 4 double crochets and then a spike stitch, moving all the way across our row. When you get to the end of your row, you're going to end up with a spike stitch and then 4 double crochets, 1 in each of the last 4. We're going to go ahead and cut our yellow yarn. There we go. And we're going to bring our teal yarn, or whatever color you want to use for your next row, back in. I'm just using 2 colors, but you can use as many colors as you would like. And so we're going to bring it back in. There we go. And we'll go ahead and chain 3. And we're going to turn our work. There we go. All right, now this row, we want to stagger our spike stitches just a little bit. And so what we're going to do is our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. And I'm going to go ahead, I do that little, it's called a stay knot. It's just so that they stay put, and then I can come back and weave those in later. All right, so once again, our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. We're going to double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. So we'll only have 3 double crochets at this end, because our first chain 3 counts as 1, and then we stitch 2. And then we're going to go ahead on this next stitch and stitch a spike stitch. So go right down across that yellow one and stitch our spike stitch. And then we'll go back to stitching 1 double crochet in the next 4. And this is going to cause our spike stitch to be off by 1, so we get a little bit of a stagger. All right, so we've stitched 4 double crochets, and now we're going to stick a stitch, a spike stitch in the next stitch. There we go. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4. And we're repeating the 4 double crochets and a spike stitch just like we did on the yellow row. We're just offsetting it by 1. There we go. Here's my spike stitch. Move this over. And now I'm going to stitch, there's 1 double crochet, and I'll stitch 3 more. So we're repeating 4 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 4, and then 1 spike stitch. And repeat. 1 double crochet in the next 4. And then a spike stitch, not a spice stitch. All right, and see how they're offset by 1? It just gives it a nice look, just something fun to do as we're learning the spike stitch. All right, I'll do 1 more for you, and then we'll complete across this row. 1 double crochet in the next 4. And then a spike stitch. And we'll repeat this all the way across. All right, so we've come to those last 4 double crochets. We're going to stitch a spike stitch, and then we're going to end with a double crochet on that row. Isn't that cool? I love how that looks. All right, so now I'm going to switch back to my yellow yarn, and this is the last row that we're going to do. Alrighty, we're going to chain 3. I'm going to make that little stay stitch that I like to do. It's just a preference. There we go. And we're going to turn our work. All right, now we want to stagger this last row as well. And so the way we're going to do that, pull that loop through there. Our chain 3 counts as this first double crochet. Then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to start our repeat. So we'll put our spike stitch in the next stitch. And then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then our next stitch will be our spike stitch. And see how that staggers? Looks pretty cool, I think. All right, so now we're just going to repeat what we've done on the previous rows. 1 double crochet in the next 4 double crochets, or the next 4 stitches, since we've got some spike stitches in there. and then spike stitch around the next double crochet, just like we've been doing. All right, oops, I want to put 2 wraps on there. All right, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then spike stitch the next stitch. And that's how our last row will work. We'll continue this across, repeating 4 double crochets, spike stitch all the way across. So we're at the end of this row, and we're going to do our spike stitch, and then you'll have 2 double crochets at the end. And of course, I'm doing this based on our 74 stitches for our blanket that we started with. If you adjusted your stitches wider, you're going to need to make that adjustment on these rows. All right, so let's go ahead and cut our yarn. Now on this last one, I always make a loop so that we can begin our next stitch with this loop. But I am going to take the time to weave my ends in. I'd like to do this when I finish because I don't want to have a whole bunch of ends to weave in when I'm done. And when you're doing a blanket with edges, I like to go in, stay in the color that you're working on. I'll go one way, I'll come back the other, and then I'll go in again because I don't want the ends where I cut off to be out here on the end. It's just another way to keep that end from coming undone. And I'll do this on all my ends, and the only thing that I'll have left is that loop so that I can join in our next stitch next month when we do the butterfly stitch. The butterfly stitch is sometimes called the bow tie stitch. So we're going to be doing that next month. And we just have a few months left on our crochet along, and then we'll be doing the trim. And if you're wanting the previous stitches, like I said at the beginning, that link is in the notes underneath this video. And also the link for this video is underneath the video. And another thing to remember is if you're looking for the previous videos for this blanket, just go to the top of my YouTube channel where it says playlist and click the playlist button, and you'll see it says Harmony Sample Blanket, and all the videos are there.